So there are a number of requests for things botanical that I'm seeing brewing out there. I think that that would be really a lot of fun. But maybe before we do, before this meeting started, I brought Ave into the meeting and accidentally brought Sarah in, and we had a chance to talk a little bit before the meeting officially started. And she gave us just a very short, powerful, thoughtful quote. And maybe that would be a good thing for us to start with. And so I am going to bring in Sarah. Hey, Sarah, thank you so much for being with us.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Oh, it's morning here. Hello. This quote is from a friend of mine who shared it with me a couple of days ago. I believe it's his own quote. I believe he's the author of it. He's quite the wildflower crazy guy, and we're constantly sharing about where and what is blooming. And he's also a guide, a volunteer docent for the Van Hoosier Wildflower Preserve in Sonoma Valley here in Northern California. So this is what he shared with me. Happy is the person who feels nature within them.
Happy is the person who feels nature within them. There's actually, it's interesting that there's a lot of data that backs that up. You know, the person who is in a hospital room with a window that looks out, and there's even just there, they can see a tree. They have shorter hospital stays, better outcomes, require less medication for pain, and they are less of a pain in the neck to the, the nursing staff. Just because there's a tree view outside their window. All sorts of studies of the kind of our stress responses and things go down just on a short walk in nature. And it doesn't take much. If it's possible for you to get out and just get a short little blast of exercise and do that among green living things, you will come back restored. I have a friend who encourages people to regularly take the green 15. So you can write that down, green 15. And like, have you taken your green 15 today? And so what he'll do is he'll just, you know, and he was sometimes in the place that he would work, he was managing people. And he would insist that people on his team go take their green 15s. So props to you out there, Chris Giorni. I love your idea of the green 15. And Lynn had a thought that what if that quote were the first line of a poem? What if that person, so tell us the line again, and this is, what is the quote?
Happy is the person who feels nature within them. Ivea shared it on the chat as well.
Who feels
nature within them. I changed it from him/her to them because that incorporates everybody.
All right. So what I'm going to encourage people to do is to write the rest of the poem and share those on the Nature Journal Club. What is the person's name, just so we can
his name is Phil, Phil, and his last name is Weil, Weil, and that was his quote from April 5th, 2022. And I also shared that in the chat, and that he's in Sonoma County, Northern California, USA.
Okay. So I'm going to encourage everybody to write a Phil Will inspired poem and see what comes up for you. Don't overthink it. It doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to have a specific couplet structure, although it can if you want it to. And so it's not going to make a haiku though, but you can make a maiku, which is kind of like a haiku, but it doesn't have to be 575 because you can have it be as many syllables as you want, but just they can be short, sweet, and you might see where sometimes if you think about things in the structure of a poem, right, that you're going to be writing a poem, it's an invitation, not for us to get fancy or fussy, but just an invitation for us to be a little bit more thoughtful about the words that we use, that we set down one beside another. And if you then call it a poem, you have a poem. So Sarah, thank you so much. All right. Spring is getting sprung all over the place. And there are blossoms coming out on trees. And this might be a good opportunity for us to look at and to think about drawing as blossoms are out, kind of curling, twisting petals, be it on a dogwood or an opening iris or something. I think it might be really useful for us to play with that. Here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest that we take 1 minute and everybody run outside, and if you are able to, and come back with a handful of twisted, curled leaves of different sizes and shapes. So the idea here is that you're going to get yourself a number of different shapes of, and ideally things where the leaf isn't just like, look, I'm a flat leaf. I'm easy to draw. Oh no, now I'm foreshortened. That was hard, right? No, but I'm talking like a leaf that's doing yoga. So everybody, you're going to go out and get yourself, you got a minute to go get yourself leaves doing yoga, all right? And break. All right, welcome back, everybody. We had a big windstorm that rolled through the Bay Area last night. So all these leaves were down on the ground. So no leaves were harmed in the production of this video. But I've got a number of curled and twisted leaves that are kind of wrapping up on themselves. If somebody's just doing this, you know, that's a little bit more straightforward. But today what I want to do is just kind of get into the yoga leaf and how to mess with that. And so this can be, here's how I suggest that you apply this idea. We're going to be looking at the shape of one individual leaf. And actually, this is best demonstrated instead of just talked about. So let's go over to the thrill cam right now. Isn't that cool? My daughter gave me burrito stickers. Still trying to figure out the best place to put those, but lovely burrito stickers. And so if I were drawing, say, an iris, what I would do at the start of drawing the iris is I would block in the whole shape of the iris, you know, so perhaps it's, and I would make myself just a little kind of light sketch, sort of showing the general positions of, there are these little things that stick up in here, and then there's gonna be another one in the back, and there's gonna be a part here. So at the start of it, what I'm doing is I am I'm making just a very light sketch, loose. This is, I'm not drawing the sepal that's flopped down here. I'm just saying that there's a sepal that is roughly this big that is occupying that area. And so I use this little, there's another one that's over here. There's another one that's back there. There's a little thing that is sticking up here, a little thing that's sticking up here. Here's a little thing that sticks up. Oh, and this one comes towards me, and then there's another one over there. All right, so no detail, but just sort of placeholders for those. And then what I would do is, using the techniques which I'm going to be showing you here, the yoga leaf, I would then go in and draw, all right, there's this sepal that is coming here, and what is its shape? And if I want to sort of draw that in all of its kind of, twisted loveliness, it makes this weird kind of yoga shape, with all of its little twists and nuances and curls. The stuff that I'm going to be doing today is showing you how to do those kind of details on the leaf. So think of this as in the context of, let's say I'm sketching a dogwood. I might say that the whole thing is this big, and there's kind of a ball in the middle, and then there's one little leaf, little thing that's sticking out here, another petal is sticking out here, another one is over here, and then there's another one over here. So you would start by just lightly blocking in loosely the overall shape of your plant. And then you're going to use these techniques to draw the individual leaves or petals or other plant structures. So let's just take a look at this. All right, I'm going to zoom down on it. So here is this leaf. It's curling up on itself. I'm going to put it up at a slightly more interesting angle. There we go. And what I want to do is, if I wanted to draw this, by the way, the view that you're seeing it through the lens here is slightly different than the view that I'm seeing it. So you're going to see me draw this from a view that is different than the view that you're looking at. So you can either follow along with the one that I'm drawing, or you can follow along with the one that you see on the screen. But here's how I would go about this. Is I would first start with sort of a light, loose thing that's saying there's a part that sticks out here to kind of a corner, and then there's a base that comes in, and then this gets skinny up in here. And then what I'm going to do is in some places I'm seeing the dark green inner surface, in some places I'm seeing the lighter green underside of the leaf. And each place that I'm seeing these, what I do is I think of each one of these zones as a different, just flat two-dimensional shape. I don't imagine this as a curling leaf in my head. I imagine this as a flat two-dimensional shape. And so up in the top here, I'm seeing something that is a little diamond. And it attaches to this piece that comes down. It has a little step out from my angle. It comes down straight, and then it has a hook in, and it comes down in a curve. So I'm not thinking of this as a curve, and then this side is fairly straight with a little bit of a bend in it. So I'm not thinking of this as a rounded form. I'm just thinking of this as a flat. If I were to cut this out of paper, if I were to cut this out here, what would be the shape of the cutout that I see? If you're actually looking at a three-dimensional form in front of you, don't think of, close one eye if you're when you're looking at it, and then you'll find that it is easier to see. So there is a little long piece here, and then I have a triangle tent piece there. So this, from my view, is what a kind of would be my initial shape. And so I'm just thinking of this little zone in here as just a flat shape. I'm not thinking of it as a curving three-dimensional form. And now I'm going to put some edges on this. And so here, and so I'm going to follow this edge here all the way through there and draw that along here. And because I've already got this preliminary line, it's going to make it a little bit easier for me. Coming in this little hook right here, and from my view, I'm seeing this as a little divot. Like I'm seeing here, you're not seeing, I'm looking down into this space here. You're looking at more at this side here, but I'm looking down into this little space. And as I look around that, I'm not really seeing the sawtooth edges, but once I get up in here, I'm seeing sawtooth. So I'm just sort of noticing where I'm seeing sawtooth, and then it straightens out for me. I'm not seeing sawtooth. And then right in here, I've got a little bit of sawtooth. This end here comes down over to a flat corner, and there we go. Now I can probably even get closer to this business. Oh, now I've changed the shape, the angle of the leaf. That wasn't very good. All right, so this little surface here, I can see some sawtooth coming in here. As it's coming here, I see the sawtooth, and then as it's curling away from me, I no longer see the sawtooth because the sawteeth are pointing towards me. So I like to just notice where I'm seeing sawtooth. I'm seeing sawtooth in here, strong, and then less in here. So serrated edge. And that gives me this shape. So I just am thinking of these as flat shapes next to shapes next to shapes. And then this side of it has a straight edge. And then lastly, I have this out here, a little suggestion of sawtooth. Then it gets a little bit of detail. I want to notice that there's a vein that is coming here. I'm going to punch that, just sort of wiggle my pencil there a little bit. Line comes up, wiggle my pencil and out. There's another vein that comes from somewhere in here. And it probably thinks this song is about it. There we go. Let me do a little diagram over here of a toilet paper tube. If I have a line that is coming, wrapping around this toilet paper tube, I'm going to see that as across this part here, kind of curving across at some angle. But when that line gets closer to the edge here, it becomes more of, it's foreshortened away from me. So I see it twist, the apparent angle of that changes. So it gives me this little S curve.
The next time you see a barber shop pole, you're looking at a barbershop pole, take a look at, see if you can see this kind of S effect on it. When really these bars are just going the same direction all the way across it. It's just that imagine this part here that is turned more towards this side. You're now seeing that distance at a perspective angle. So it gives you that little S shape. So I'm kind of, as this is coming in here, I'm thinking of these veins coming and wanting to, if they're coming across here, then they'll get more sort of turned up into these as it drops up in there. And a little bit of shadow in this, and that should do a lot for sort of showing these separate zones. That's fun. That's fun. Now, if I wanted to put color on this, I could. Yeah, so I will. Let's do that. I've got a little watercolor kit here. I like to use these Pentel Aquash water brushes. I'll just sort of show you a couple to do this really, really simply. I'm going to zoom back a little bit so you can see me what I do with playing with the paint. Whoop. All right. And what I'm going to do is first get a darker green, test it off on the side. Not quite the right color, so I'll mix it in with some of the lighter green that's on the palette there, test it off on the side, and it's going to be close enough. I'm just going to put that darker color into these spaces here. And now for these veins, this part here, I'm going to use a lighter shade of green. That'll work. Very often, you're going to see on a plant, the underside is more pale. The underside of the leaf is more pale. And the reason for that is that the top surface has, if you did a cross section through a leaf, you'd find that the top surface has all these chloroplasts in it, or this big sort of zone that's sort of heavy with chlorophyll. And the bottom layer has these big cells, little palisade layer down here of cells that are kind of more support. So the surface that is pointing towards the sun has more of the cells that kind of do the photosynthesis work. Notice that this has pale veins, and because I did this with pen, with my pencil, I've got dark veins here. So it's the flip of that. I can fix that. In a couple of ways. And let's do that now. One is, the two easiest ways to do that. One is the gel pen, and the other is the white Prismacolor pencil. The gel pen, so I'm going to switch gel pens because there's a couple of different brands of gel pens that are nice. The Signo Uniball, and this is the Sakura Jelly Roll. My favorite is the Uniball, so I'm going to use the Signo Uniball. And I'm going to just draw over these veins. And when I first put them down, they will be a little bit too shockingly intense. And so you'll see me tap them with my finger And what I'm doing when I'm doing that is picking up a little bit of the ink onto my finger to make a little bit of a lighter line. So I want this line to come in here. See a little bit of white on my finger. That's way too intense. Whoa, that's crazy intense. Whoa, that's, so kick that back a little bit. Kick this back a little bit. I tap, tap, and maybe tap, tap in here. This one here. Now notice that my veins are now white. When on the plant, they're light green. Don't worry about that yet. Tap, 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 tap. So I've got all this. You can see on my fingertip, I've taken up some of that. Tap. Now, what I can do is if there are parts of that, let's zoom down on it again, where, whoa, that's just way too intense. First of all, I'm going to make it light green by taking a little bit of green paint and painting over that. And so that makes it a little bit sort of kicked back more. And if I stroke it a little bit more with the brush, it's going to pick up some of that graphite, and I mean, not the graphite, but it'll pick up part of the pen and wash it away, which is, so I can, if there's something that's like way too intense, I could stroke it several times and make it entirely disappear. And it still is looking a little bit too harsh for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of rub it with my brush a little bit in there and kick that back a little bit. Maybe bring in a little bit more green tint that. There we go. So it gives you very kind of crisp, pale edges. Let's do a different twisty curly leaf. Let's see here. What do we have? I want to get this leaf at an angle that from where you're looking at it, be a little bit twisty curly. Oh, that'll work. This time I'm going to try to draw what you're seeing on the screen rather than the view that I'm looking at. So I have to kind of look over at the computer screen. So I'm doing exactly what you are doing. I think I'm seeing this underside that is in shadow. I'm going to draw that as my first shape, and there's kind of a notch out of it here. So I'm just thinking of that dark underside, this part here, as a shape. And then sticking out in front of that is another shape. So it comes out, it comes back, it comes down, it comes up and rounds out here towards my hand. Make that part a little bit wider. So on this, here's this edge that is broken here, going to come to here, then I'm going to be seeing the other side coming around there. Again, the way I'm doing this is I'm looking at the shape of one side, and then I'm thinking of the shape of the lighter side here. I'm not trying to visualize this initially as a three-dimensional curling leaf. I'm thinking of it as a two-dimensional shape. What is the shape of this dark area with the notch in it? And then what is the shape of that lighter zone that is on the outside? And once I get that, I can then look at the edge in this part. I can see a little bit of the jaggies along the edge, but not so much in this part. So put a few little jaggies in there. And then this part here. And that is shape number one. So I put shape number one next to shape number two. Now on this far side here, I'm going to use a little bit less pressure. I'm going to use a little bit less pressure with my pencil. And that will also help it retreat into the back. But so I got this by thinking of this shape next to this shape. Let's take another little leaf here. Okay, that's cool. I'm now going to also try to do the same thing. So I'm going to try to draw the same view that you're seeing. Where we have, let's see if I have on the underside, so the overall leaf is going to be about this big. And there's going to be kind of a bend in the bottom of it. And the bottom part has a rounded corner and a pointed corner. Pointed corner over here, rounded corner back here. Oops, keeps moving around. Hold still, hold still. Oh, it keeps rotating slightly in my fingers. I'm gonna get a little clamp to hold it so that it's easier for both of us. All right, here comes the little arm. All right, now. Yeah, there's a neat view. Let's play with that view. So the way that I handle this is I first say to myself, all right, I've got an overall leaf shape that is, oh, you know, this is going to, I need to, if I draw the view that is on, well, actually I need to do a quick test. Are words flipped on the screen that I'm looking at? Yeah. So unfortunately, you're looking at the inverse of what I'm seeing on my
screen at home. So it means if I copy my screen, oh no, then it's going to be a mirror image of what you're seeing. I think maybe the best thing for me to do is to stick with the old thing. I'm not going to try to draw what you're seeing on the screen. I'm going to try to just sort of draw what I'm seeing. So from the view that I'm looking at this, the overall leaf is kind of pointing in this direction. So I'm just going to put a little mark up saying my leaf is kind of pointing up like this. And from my angle, when I close one eye, the side that is closest to me makes an arch like that and has a bottom side. Now yours, my arch, from the angle that I'm seeing, my arch is higher than, so I'm looking at this green side here, this dark green side. Right. And then there is a backside that on yours goes somewhere to in here. Actually, maybe I can draw your view. I have to do this sort of weird flip in my head. Your view is something like this, right? And then there's the back side, which is just another shape that is going to come down to some point in here. So it starts up like this and comes down here. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just putting this shape next to this shape. The way when I really look at mine from when I am not looking at my screen, my other one comes in like this. Now, what I'm going to do is to draw the edges on these. Now, this is this really cool thing. This is going to make a huge impact on your ability to draw this. Look at this back one and notice how prominent those serrations are. Smaller in here because they're smaller, bigger in here because they're bigger. Now, notice on the close edge, in here, I'm not seeing any serrations at all. There are serrations there, but they're pointing towards you, so you don't see them. And then this zone of serrations here, they are subtle, they're small. Out here, they're prominent, here they're subtle. So the angle that I'm looking at these makes me see these serrations as small, these ones out here as big. So I'm going to come up, and I often will like to start to kind of talk out loud to myself. And I'll kind of, or make little sound effects. I'll kind of, now I want bigger serrations. Right? So I've got my bigger serrations in there. And then I'm going to do with sound effects like doodly doodly doo doo doo. And then I'm kind of getting into where there's little serrations. And here, little serrations visible to up there. On the one that I'm really looking at here, oh, that's why I was having trouble. All right, so yeah, here's the one that's on your screen. It's coming up here. And through here, we get big serrations. So notice that the serration has a long side and a shorter side. It's got a long side and a shorter side. So if I'm making them like this, they're going to be pointing outward. If I make them like this with a long side and a shorter side, they're pointing up this way. And then this close side. So along the bottom edge here,
there are veins that are coming down to this. And notice that these veins in here, which I'm seeing. So if I look at the direction of this vein and I compare it with the direction of this vein, these veins are kind of pointing out this way more. And these veins are coming down at a slightly different angle here. So sometimes because something is symmetrical, we then end up drawing it symmetrically. Let me, oh, where's my phone? Let me show you, let's see if I can get this kind of effect to work. Yeah, here we go. Look at, so if I shine the light on the underside, we have kind of a clear light green side, and then there's the dark side, but we don't see leaves this way. We see leaves lit from the top. So I'm bringing my flashlight. I need a stronger flashlight. Hold on. I have got a really powerful flashlight. I'm going to try to get one that'll be more kind of closer to sunlight. Okay, here's my mini sun. Ah, yes, this is what I want. Okay, we're gonna do some cool stuff. All right. So now the sunlight is shining down on this leaf. And this is causing two really interesting effects. One is on the dark green side in here, where I'm putting the tip of my pencil, there is a white reflection of the sun. So the leaf has a waxy surface. You see it right in here, it's reflecting the sun. In here, it's a little bit more in shadow, and I'm getting some, but we can see some nice dark green. But look at the color of this part, this vibrant green. Why is that? That is light passing through, that is transmitted light through the leaf. So the sunlight is coming through the leaf and causing that to glow. And so you see this all the time on real plants out in the field. You don't see this inside when you're inside sketching on a plant that you've put in a vase. But when you are out in the sun, you will very often see this effect where you're seeing one side which has transmitted light through it, and the far side you're seeing, that's where you can actually get reflections and also these darker colors. So I'm going to now put those effects into this leaf. And notice how much it changes when I do it kind of with interior lighting. All right, now where is my brush? Brush, kingdom for my brush. Oh, there it is. All right. So what I'm going to do on that underside, I may actually have to put in some gouache, but I'm going to start just with, this is phthalo yellow green. Yeah, there's too much of the gray paper that is shining through that. It's okay, but I think I want that to be a little bit more intense. So this is some gouache, which is more opaque. And so that is going to give me this, you're going to have this yellow green shining through here. And Do you remember what the shadow was doing? There was that kind of crescent of shadow zone out here with a highlight in here. Let's take a look at that one more time. See that? So out here, it's going to be just sort of out here, it's going to be more of a flat green. In here, I'm going to get a highlight. And out here, there's going to be a little bit more of a shadow. So if I try just to paint all that, my brain is going to get overloaded. And so I'm going to just give myself a little map in here that is going to say, here is my highlight region. Here is a shadow region. And then that, so between the highlight region in here, and I'm going to put that shadow region in there, just as little kind of light placeholders. You won't see those lines when I'm done painting. I'm going to put some water in here that will allow me to kind of get a blend into that. Here comes the kind of matte green color. I think I need that. I'm going to put that a little bit more of a stronger green. And because I'm using toned paper, rather than using the white of the paper to be that highlight in there, keep this edge soft, I'm going to get some gouache, some white gouache. And notice how that white gouache has a very, very hard edge. I clean my brush off and I come back in and I smear that, and it's going to feather it. So with gouache, you can, it's not like once it's dry, it's there and you're stuck with it. With gouache, you can keep coming in and kind of altering that and modifying it. I'm wondering, is that too intense a highlight? Let's find out. Go back, look at the plant. I think I want some sort of a brighter green kind of coming down maybe a little bit further.
So Jack, we've got a question about which colors you're using.
Okay. I have, there we go. For I've got green in both the watercolor palette as well as in the gouache palette. In the gouache palette, don't remember the greens of these. These are Holbein gouache. They just had some, whatever their sort of their two lightest values of green are. Those are the ones that are in my palette, and I was using this one. I mean this one. In my watercolor palette, I have the greens that I've been using. I have a number of different greens. One that is really useful is this phthalo yellow green, and so it gives me a very vibrant green. I've also been using a little bit of Hooker's green, which is sort of a medium bright green, and then I have some just dark gunk on my palette here, and I've been mixing into that just to make it a little bit more dull. But here I've used primarily the phthalo yellow green, the Hooker's green, and I've also brought in a little bit of this perylene green, which is this darker one, and that's going to come into that shadow zone. little bit too bold, but I can put that on and then soften its edge. Let's go back. Great. One final little bit here is once this is dry, and I'm going to hit it with a hairdryer to make it dry faster. All right, I want my leaf is a little bit too yellow green. I think I want a brighter highlight in the core of the highlight. And so I am going to modify that green color. And the other thing I'm going to do is get a little bit more white gouache. And just bring that into the base there. It's weird to start thinking of leaves in this way, the areas of reflected light versus transmitted light. So again, the one that you're seeing through, that's transmitted light, that turns these leaves these yellow-green colors. And the reflected lights, that's where we see their darker light, but we'll also see then with the white highlights. You'll never see a white highlighted reflection in the transmitted light area, only in the reflected light area. One last little bit that I'm going to put in is I could see there were some veins that were green that were crossing that reflection zone. So I'm going to put those in and then taper them out that way. I think I'm still a little bit too, maybe a little bit too bright with this. Okay. All right, so that is a little bit looking at twisted leaf. Let's go back to this one more time. Make it a little bit more lively. I'm going to put a little bit of a brighter green into this part. Let that dry. And I'll probably be worthwhile to demonstrate this. That you can very effectively use a white Prismacolor pencil to be able to play with your veins. You can't really tint them other colors, but I'm going to just, in a few places on this, it's not quite as harsh as what you see with the with the gel pen. So you can get, I'll just do it over here. You see there's a sort of I put a white line on something, but it's often doesn't have the same anger that the gel pen does. I'm going to put a little bit of light back here, just to be some sunlight hitting on that surface. I'm going to put a little bit of light here. When you're putting colored pencil on something with your white colored pencil, think of it as being sunlight. Your pencil is now sunlight. So you can sprinkle that on. If you feel you overdid it, you can actually lift out a little bit of your colored pencil. It doesn't come all the way out, but that's a useful tool. Well, let's see, actually, do we see, hold on, just bring this one back one more time. Take a look here. Do we see, what are the veins doing here? Not really prominent. Okay. There we go. So we've had a few ideas. We had this one leaf here that was all crinkled and rolled up. We drew it by first kind of getting the overall shape of the leaf, and then looking at the shapes of the different kind of rolled up units in that. And then where is my graphite pencil? There you are. Then we came back and drew in those little sections as we were then drawing in those sections on top of this little piece that already had the shape figured out. I could then look at where am I seeing those serrations, and sometimes I saw bigger serrations, sometimes I didn't, right? Because sometimes those serrations are pointing towards me and they disappear. Sometimes I'm seeing them out. Like just look at the sawtooth edge of my fingers. When I do this towards you, towards the, oops, no, that's not towards the screen, there's towards the screen, you can't see that sort of sawtooth effect. But the minute I kind of get it off on the side, then you see these different heights of the fingers, and the same with those leaves. And then I'm drawing these different units next to these different units. And that allows me to get all these sort of weird, wrinkly, overlapping, folding shapes. And everybody's just going to look at whatever your final shapes are. Nobody notices all those little preliminary lines that you put in. So block things in well, plan it out, look at the shape next to the shape, and then you can draw all these twisting, curling things. They didn't have dogwood and things like that in front of me, but I think that these will be useful in drawing some of the things that are just starting to burst out of their buds. And I hope that that was useful. I really like looking for kind of leaves doing yoga. It's fun. Again, the process that you break it down into, if I would kind of make some bullet points, I'd have bullet point number 1 be blocking the overall shape of the leaf. Bullet point number 2 would be to lightly block in each of those zones where, like, you know, the bottom is rolled over. It makes a shape. Don't think of it as a leaf. Think of it as a shape, a flat shape, and put that flat shape next to this flat shape, next to this flat shape, on that first little kind of overall leaf shape template that you made. Then bullet point number 3 is to draw in the edges, noticing there where you're seeing serrations, where you're not. Don't just note that my plant has serrations, because again, those serrations, when they point towards you, you don't see the serrations. But then that leaf goes whoop, off to the side, and you go like, oh, look, there's serrations. So I can put those in.
We also today in this class, we looked at drawing leaves in strong light. So when there is strong light shining on your leaf, you're going to get that transmitted light effect. You know, that's why looking up at, there's all this beautiful vibrance and this warmth that you get when you lay on your back underneath the trees. Can you get a chance to do that today? I hope so. To get on, you know, and look underneath the tree. So and so some places you're going to be getting transmitted light, and that behaves in a way that's totally different than reflected light. And the thing that's fun about this whole thing of like this whole transmitted reflected light thing is that for people who practice botanical illustration and get really, 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 really good at it, there's only a handful of people who, when you look at formal botanical illustrations that have this reflected light and transmitted light effect going on, because what most of those botanical illustrators are doing is taking a plant specimen, cutting it, bringing it into their studio, where you then have it in your room lighting, and you don't get that transmitted light effect, and you don't get the reflected light effect. And so many botanical illustrations then end up looking like they were drawn inside a building with sometimes with fluorescent lights, right? But if you are a field sketcher, you're out with the real sun. Wear sunscreen. And you're going to be seeing these transmitted light and reflected light effects. And don't be afraid of it. At first, it's like, oh no, and they'd be like, oh yeah, this now looks like that. And you give yourself permission to draw a leaf with where you're seeing part of the underside, and it's this bright, vibrant lime thing. And people, by the way, who are used to seeing botanical illustrations done indoors, some people look at it how like, why are you putting this bright yellow green on your leaf? You're doing it because that's what you saw, right? And that kind of gets you away from the whole kind of flowers are red and green leaves are green. There's no need to see things any other way than the way they always have been seen, right? It allows you, can anybody name the song that came from? If so, put it in the chat. Mad points to you. We have a chance to see just a whole other level of beauty and wonder in the botanical studies that we do. So it's fun. Have fun with this. Have fun with it. And you know, there's all these things like plants are popping out, all these new shoots and things. Get yourself out there and see what you see. And I hope that was useful. Let's see. Let's first just kind of go in for a discussion about the points which we're talking about here. If anybody has any comments, thoughts, and ideas, then please. Oh, Sandra. I just saw in the chat, Sandra has taken the line from this morning and created a haiku with it. Mad props. Sandra, do you want to read that to the group? Or if so, give me a thumbs up. No, thumbs down. So thumbs up. Okay, is it okay if I read it to the group? Thumbs up. Okay, so check this out. Happy is the one who feels nature within them. Happy as I am. Ooh, I just got chills, right? You just haiku'd the line from this morning. That's so great. That's really cool. Thank you so much. So anybody have comments about the leaf drawing business from this morning? If so, you can raise your hand. I'm going to bring in Sarah, add you into the spotlight, and you can now unmute. Hey there.
Hi. So I had to run out and get like the most difficult leaf ever. And I ended up with a purpley colored alum root off my patio. And what I noticed was, and I let it just kind of droop so that I could get shapes. And I noticed that the underside is lighter than the upper side. And it's really way different colors. And that it's got little itty bitty hairs on the stem and under the leaf. So as you were talking, I did that.
Oh, let me get rid of my screen. I'm going to remove my spotlight. Ah, ha, 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 ha.
And
Oh,
I can't really believe that I did that.
Isn't that exciting?
And then I did your leaf here,
Yep.
practicing the colors and the paint, which was really hard for me. I'm still trying to really grasp getting the painting. And then this was my first leaf. I was looking for a leaf doing yoga, and this was a baby basil leaf of a brand new penstemon plant that I just got. That's actually, the older leaves are actually the color of the alum root. They're purpley colored. But this was the really new baby leaf, and I was able to get some of the shadowing because of the practicing from your leaf, and it made me really happy. So thank you.
That is really fun. And that has such a twist and a curve to it.
It doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I'll put it back up there again.
So then when we take, leaves like this that are really expressive dancing leaves, and we put those into a structure on a drawing that we've already worked out, you can have the full structure of the iris with each little petal section doing its own little dance.
Yeah.
Same thing if you're drawing an orchid. You're first blocking that structure. Oh, that's really cool. Wasn't it cool to see what Sandra did with the line from this morning?
Yes, I loved it.
Love
Yeah,
that.
I'm going to be really interested to see how we all absorb that line and share it on the Facebook page. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Sandra.
again, the prompt was, happy is the person who feels nature within them. And then using that to create a poem. That's so cool. Yeah. So happy is the one, 5, who feels nature within them. So who feels nature within them. 7. And then happy as I am. 5.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, it'll be really fun to see what this does. So and again, don't. By the way, anybody who's watching this and you're like, oh, poetry, I'm not a poet, I can't do that. But then we're not asking you to do a poem. If the word poem stresses you out, don't write a poem. But do take a few more thoughtfully crafted lines and stitch them together. Also, what you can do with this is you can sometimes, look out at nature for inspiration, look inside for inspiration. You can do your I notice, I wonder, it reminds me of, both with the world and inside. Put that down with a little bit more thought, and you go like, wow, I guess, like, again, if the word poem it kind of stresses you out, don't think of it as a poem. But if you're fine with that, just embrace that and write a poem. Hey, thank you so much for showing those. That twisting alum root leaf, that's so cool. Oh, wow. And how much more fun is it to do that than kind of taking a leaf and kind of doing the, sort of the plan and elevation views of it. That's great. Sarah, thank you so much. So are there other leafy moments, thoughts, or ideas? Shannon, I'm going to add you into the spotlight here, and you can unmute. Hello from aloha to you. I think you're in Hawaii, aren't you?
I'm still here, but only for a couple of more days. My time's almost over, and in a moment you might hear a chorus of donkeys behind me. I apologize if that happens.
No, it will be extra points for if you can get the donkeys to bray while we're on the call. That would be even cooler.
They're waiting for me to feed them, so that's what they're up to. So yeah, oddly, as it always seems to happen, I do something just before you teach it. So, so I tried with this one here. It's an exotic version of a passion plant.
Oh, yes.
And you can see the leaves there in the center. There are also a bunch of twisties that came off of this plant. So, you know, the little curling tendrils that they fasten onto things. So this was my attempt before your class. And if you notice, there are little spikes on the leaves there that kind of show. So then with your instruction today, of course, I don't have my Jack's gouache palette set up yet. I'm in Hawaii and I have nothing but just what I brought. I have your regular palette. That's what I try to use. It's gotten a little worse for the humidity here. But then here I've done this off of today's thing. So I couldn't get the really brilliant, you know, lime green color, but you know, I did the best I could. And it was really helpful to work with, you know, blocking those shapes out with more care.
Yes. Oh, that's really fun. That's
and
really fun.
Here you can just see briefly. So this was the actual plant here.
Yes. Oh, what a wonderful source of inspiration.
And this incredible blossom, if you can still see it on there.
Yes. Gorgeous.
Just amazing. They remind me of clematis on the mainland, and then we found this one yesterday. So I don't know if I'll have time to paint it. I actually fly out on Wednesday, so I'm almost done, and I can get home and get back to my other art supplies and resources. If I could. Introduce you to the primary reason why I'm here. The doggies. Her name is little Althea Rose, and she was born 3 weeks ago. So we've had our hands full for 3 days, for 3 weeks, and it's been just amazing. I have to share a newborn baby that, you know, we'd walk her outside. We're here kind of in the jungle, and those eyes got so big, and you could just see her ears working, you know, listening to all the sounds around her. It was incredibly, it has been and continues to be incredibly precious. And I'm really sad to have to leave now. But
is there any chance that you can extend your stay?
I already have extended it, but I'm coming back in June. So Good. I'll be back. I have 2 new grandbabies in my life now. One's on the mainland and one's here. So I'm looking at how to divide my time between the 2 locations.
That's great. That's
it's been
those are your priorities are just right.
It's been an incredible 3 months.
I want to point out to you that Susan Beckert had a great comment that she dropped into the chat in all caps. She says, "Never apologize for donkeys."
Yeah, okay, I like that. I
agree. Never apologize for donkeys. That's great. Now the work. Are you familiar with Margaret Mee?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, the botanical study that you did really reminds me of her. And you know, just that those wonderful shapes against that light background. That's really cool. So
I was trying to get your volume up a little. You mean on the first one that I showed you?
Yeah, on the one where there's that cool flower.
All right, this one. Well, I thought I ruined it because I painted the whole thing and I really liked it. How it was coming, and it was more vibrant, but I, you know, was getting my hand on it.
Yes.
And-
Oh,
and
that's so frustrating, isn't it?
it's
One
hard.
way to handle that is to, if you're gonna have to put the side of your hand down on part of your paper, take another piece of paper and put it on your drawing, and then your hand can be on that paper, which can be to kind of block from the smudging.
Right. And of course, the humidity here is really intense too. I think I was painting this in the rain all around me, except I'm under this one little roof. So then I thought, well, I'm going to go into the background and do a wash over everything and kind of spread the pinks all around. But then that diminished the intensity of the color, and it didn't lay in well. You can't really see, but that's okay. It did make my handprint go away, but it kind of, it was a learning process, and that's what journals are for. In my current view is for me to just keep learning all these little tricks.
Yeah. Well, that's so much fun.
Sadly, this my thing here. So this is and I can't pull it off without losing all the paint. That's how humid it can be here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So my paints have to be all kind of I have to fix them up when I get home.
Yeah. Humidity can be tough. Thank you so much for sharing that, and also I love the little donkey moment.
Yes, you're welcome. And I do wish I could show you Althea. She's absolutely, as you would imagine, a little tiny baby, just the most beautiful little thing. But not this time. She's nursing or whatever, sleeping now. She was awake for a little while, but we were in the lesson then.
Okay. Another time though.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was really fun. Let me see. Does anybody else have any leaf twisty related thought, comment, or idea to share? And on not seeing that, let's open it up to anybody who's got cool journaling shenanigans that you've been doing that you wanted to share. If so, let's see what's up in Kate's journal. Kate first, then we'll jump over to Ray Bonto and Jack. Hey, good to see you. You can now unmute.
Hey, good to see you. Enjoyed the plant lesson. I got one of those little helping hands things, and it's really changed the game for botanical illustration.
Isn't that a great
I love
tool?
it so much. I mean, they're so cheap, and you can use it for anything. Yeah, so I think as anyone who has been following my Instagram knows, I've been on a bit of a herpetology kick, but I've been working on light sources, and so I had this cool one. It's a Diamondback Terrapin. I made friends with a herpetologist from South Carolina on Instagram, and it's been really fun going through and sketching a lot of his photographs. And this one, he had the turtle in his hand, and then I just took that and moved it around so that I could do an underwater location.
Oh, that's cool. And what I really like, the angle on the turtle. It really, and also this turtle's facial expression just sort of feels like it's free. I like this a lot. And the challenging thing. So this view on the turtle shell is a challenging one, because how they wrap around. They've got all the plates have these different shapes, and you've got to make them interlock, and then showing it at a 3/4 view. So very well handled on that.
Yeah, I was trying to really just find something that would be a challenge. And I did fill out the sketchbook. So I started a new sketchbook, and I had a project where I actually had a commission, and someone's doing a children's book on birds. And so what I did was I did my initial sort of character design stuff and a bunch of different styles to give her some options for combinations with watercolor and ink. And I might put Photoshop on the table, because I just started working with Photoshop. Like for this lesson with the leaves, I actually was working on sketching in Photoshop, so I can start adding that to my kind of just collection of skills.
Oh, this is exciting. These are all species that will be in the project.
Yeah, that, and then there's also a California Condor.
Love these birds.
Them.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
think this is a little
yeah.
out of focus, but yeah. And I don't have much else, but I have a bunch of duck studies. For some reason, it doesn't seem to be
Really
focusing
solid.
super well on this.
The what?
Oh, can you see these okay? It looks blurry on my end.
Yeah, we can see them. We can see
Oh,
them.
well, never mind. Yeah, I just did a bunch of ducks since the main character in that book is a mallard duck. And then here's a sketch for the turtle and also some
Oh.
trilliums.
So this is the sketch that the other one was based on.
Yeah, so I did the sketch first and then I used the transfer paper to lift that out of there and put it onto some watercolor paper. And I also, before I started, I made a little diagram from a skeleton that shows how the legs and spine work. So I knew which way to expect the legs to bend. And I don't have too much in this journal, but you know, got a little robin in there. I'm gonna try and do more field work, but it's always so hard whenever I go outside. I'm either on horseback, which, you know, I have brought a notebook and I've outlined essays on horseback on really long rides, but I think sketching is a pretty tall order. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
that is hard. It is particularly in a trot.
Yeah, so the trick with that, okay, so that got started because
It's the only
I have a
sketch
bunch
on
of
the
friends who are,
downbeats.
I don't think I'd be able to sketch. I think you just have to do that when you're either resting or doing something. But it was kind of funny with the writing thing because one of my history friends brought up something from a book that someone written about Alexander Hamilton, said he was able to like write correspondence on horseback, and I was skeptical. I also had an American political systems essay due, and I could either sit inside and work on it, or I could play hooky and go riding. So I thought I can do both, right?
You have to do the Hamilton experiment.
Yeah. So the trick is either ride a gaited horse, that works okay, do it the walk, or if you've got a horse that you can canter on a loose rein, which means you're not holding the reins, canter, I can do almost anything at the canter. So
That's a smooth gait.
it has to be, yeah.
But the
But I'm
trot is
skeptical
right
about
after.
Hamilton though, because I don't think that you could write correspondence. You'd have to just be taking notes.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that gets passed around, and we, you know, it makes for a fantastic story. And so, you know, many sort of tales that are passed down from antiquity, they don't persist. You know, there's these fantastic stories that persist, and it's not because of their accuracy, but just because they are fantastic. And yeah, so
That's a cool opportunity. I mean, you can always test things, and there's so many places where people recreate history. But yeah,
that's great. Oh, those ducks are feeling so alive. That's
yeah.
great.
Well, ducks are so hard to get that really unique shape of the head, and I'm really lucky because I have a friend who has his little flock of ducks, and when I go garden at the barn, he always comes out and he brings his ducks out to do slug control. So we sit there with the ducks and I weed and plant stuff, and his ducks run around. So I think I need to bring the sketchbook out. Yeah.
Oh, and there's something else I wanted to talk to you about. Could you shoot me to remind me? Just shoot me an email later, and I will follow up with you about an interesting topic.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, really delighted with the work that you're doing. Those. Could we see those watercolor mallards just one more time before we?
Yeah, of course. Oh, let's see. Oh, and it's funny. So if anyone's doubtful, these are the first sketches I was doing of that duck series, and you can see the shape is just off for many of them. Also in the comments, no, the cherry tree thing is a myth. He did do plenty of other interesting things, but yeah.
This is fun. Yeah, you've got just so much control over the watercolor and just a sense for the organism that you just get after making a bunch of those drawings.
Yeah, I mean, repetition is key. So-
Repetition is key.
That
So-
and trying to notice the little details of what makes it like a duck.
What kind of elements of duckness do you find are really kind of standing out for you? Because these really feel ducky. What are some-
Posture, and then if you pick one or two details that really stand out on something, like I noticed that they have these little feathers that curl up in the back of the tail. And then I think the key to it is the neck area and then the head shape. The rest of it you can kind of fuss along with, but ducks are one of
You
those
bring it there.
animals that everyone's seen ducks, everyone's seen a lot of ducks. So even subconsciously, you know what a duck looks like. And when a duck looks off, it looks more off than something else that you see less. So it's one of those things I feel like you really have to kind of perfect it so that it looks natural to people who
Yeah,
have a very good idea of what ducks look like.
that's cool. Hey, thank you so much, Kate.
Yeah, thank you.
That's really cool work. Let me let's join Ray Bonto, Jack, and then Susan. Ray Bonto, it's great to see you. How are things in the UK?
Yeah, good. So, well, oopsie, not the right one. Yeah.
Oh, good studies here. And it's just so interesting the way that, oh, I like that little highlight, the little reflection. Was that done with gouache or colored pencil?
Gouache.
That's terrific. That's, yep, it really has, that leaf has dimension to it. And the way that the veins are wrapping around the edge is believable. Yep. Oh, here we go. This will be fun. I can't wait to see what you do if you get a chance to kind of, on a reasonably warm day, to get out and look at some plants around you. Those are really fun. I like that. I can see the transmitted light. I can see the reflected light there. Really cool.
Thank you. Now, I went to Kingston the other day. So there's a quick jackdaw and a few
That's
swans.
cool. Oh, and then all the swan studies. The jackdaw in flight really has good flight anatomy. And also check that out, everybody. The 3/4 view, kind of the bird going away from you at a slight angle. So that's why the wings are at a slightly different angle to the body. That's really cool. That little shadow underneath it also really effective. And on those swan studies, I like just the little dark mark on the one that's kind of preening near where your fingertips are. Just where the beak is, just a little dark mark there. Gives you just a sense of the detail. Line variation. Oh boy, really terrific studies. And the landscapeito showing the swans swimming together is great context.
Thank you. Now, here's that other flower again. No, I think you saw this. Yep. Now, this... Well, I didn't do much on the pigeon, but for this flower, which had this strange bulb for the stamens.
Yes, look at this. Oh, this is also just so your sense of dimension and form on this really is stunning. I can feel the volume of the different parts of this plant. And that the dark background also really helps pop that out. That's really exciting.
Thank you.
That's a cool one. Yeah, you are really understanding shape and form.
Yeah, here's a quick tulip.
It was this gouache with watercolor?
Yeah, both.
Nice. Really strong work. Really strong work.
That very day. Now, the way to the park is one slope and then the other. One slope to get to the park, and then a road crossing, and the other to get to the top where the pigeons are. I decided to explore the whole place so that I could find a way where it's one slope to the top.
Yeah.
I didn't, but it's just around my old school, and I looked ahead at the corner. Around the corner, I looked ahead. There was a cat at the far end of the pavement. And so I quickly parked and then sneaked over. So got a few quick.
Oh, nice cat studies. Yeah, sketching domestic cats is such a great study to do, because you get, they cooperate for us. And if you wait till you see a wild cat before your first cat drawing, you're not going to understand the form. This has really well observed angles. Also, something I want to say about those tulips. Hold those tulips up again. And folks, just notice, hold it up a little bit higher, the orange blotch right there. So just, by testing colors before they hit down, seeing how saturated it is, and then kind of getting things to blend out, you get practice doing all sorts of different kinds of strokes. Those we then see applied in that tulip that we on the top right. It's got, look at the colors in it. There's oranges glowing back from it. You're seeing light parts, other sort of deeper red. All of those colors dancing in there together is part of what just makes that so alive. Rayvanto, this is exciting work.
Well, I thought, as for the cat, I thought that it was huge. Shaggy. I thought it was huge for a cat. Even domestic.
Yeah.
Like about that size must have been. And until it came over to me. Not to me, it didn't care what I was doing. It went, just brushed against the cycle wheel and didn't care what it was or what it was doing there. And went right, squeezed right through the gate bars, this narrow, effortlessly. So it actually must have been this thin, and the rest of it was just fur.
Yeah, my understanding is that they can find a space that is big enough for them to get their head through. They're going to often be able to work the rest of their body through that space. And they're also, cats are very often laterally compressed. So the body side to side, if you look at it from the, things like, mountain, I remember the time that I saw a mountain lion out in the field. the thing that really startled me was that I was seeing the side of this thing, and I'm like, whoa, there's a big old mountain lion. And then it turned its back to me, and it was just so skinny side to side. It was like the whole animal had been squished this way, which you could actually see a lot of functionality for if you are chasing other critters for a living. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing those observations.
Thank you.
So I want to encourage people to, like you saw Ray Bonto as he's creating the tulip study, just get some paint and see what it does. If the first time you're seeing what your paint does is when it has hit your drawing of your flower, and you're going like, oh, I didn't know it was going to do that, you're going to have all sorts of unpleasant surprises. And the other thing that's going to happen is it's going to make all your drawing like really tentative. Like, I don't want to get it wrong. But what if off on the side, you kind of go like, what can I do? Can I I do it that way. And I kind of get this dark to light blend. That feels very petaloid. I can stick that in. So really inspiring work. Thank you so much, Ray Bonto. Let's see what is happening in Jack's notebook. Hey, good to see you. You can now unmute.
Hey, so a couple days ago, I was just looking for stuff under rocks to sketch, and I found this weird worm. I had never seen it before. It's not an earthworm, definitely, and must have been like stretched out that long, not stretched out like that long. When it was like fat with lots of wrinkles when it wasn't stretched, and like super thin when it was stretched. And it had like this head that like fanned out.
Okay. Oh,
it was really
oh my gosh. This is crazy cool. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I'm going to reduce my screen. So this is such a cool critter. Yep, and so really slimy and sort of a head that is flattened, right?
Very flat.
You found, drum roll, if anybody knows what this is, yeah, Mary Larson's got it. Mary Larson's identified it for you in the chat. Check that out.
Hammerhead worm?
A hammerhead worm. This is a terrestrial planaria. So sometimes in science classes, let's see that cool sketch again. So this, oh man, you found a hammerhead word. Okay, this is so cool. Now these they're earthworm predators. They're earthworm predators.
Really?
And, yeah, and they've been introduced to the United States, and they're spreading around. And they can just wreak havoc if they get into a night crawler farm. They also are able to create these slime ropes. I had one that I found in my garden here in California, and I had it on my table, and it crawled its way over to the side of the table and started to climb off it. And as it went over the edge, it created this slime rope and slowly lowered itself down a slime cable to the ground, and then went scooting away with its
wow.
Yeah. Oh, that is so crazy cool. So people maybe remember planarians back from biology class. There are these things with these two little eye spots when you're studying flatworms. You might have, that's usually what the biology teacher brings into the class to teach people about flatworms. And the people do all sorts of mean biology experiments with planaria. But this one it's a terrestrial one. And boy, that is really, really cool. That is.
I thought, I was like, I don't think so. But in your Laws Guide to Niche Journaling and Drawing, I saw what like a page you did on a hammerhead worm, and then when I saw this, I was like, that kind of look. I was like, I don't think, probably not though. And yeah, it is. And
It is.
a couple days ago, we went to a library book sale, and I got some really good deals on bird books. I got this huge book for 50 cents.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Do a quick page flip for us. Show us a little bit of what's inside there.
It's got like all birds of.
Oh, so it's got drawings.
Yeah, I think they're pictures, they're photographs. And
Yeah,
I also like
and
on the side
there's-
here you can put like the date, location, and time you saw each bird.
Oh,
So like
that's
you can
cool.
write down what each one's seen, ones you've seen. And I also got this book, another Audubon book.
So actually, going back to that Smithsonian one, if it's the one that I think of, it's possible that some of the warblers are there some warbler drawings in there that are done in watercolor?
Yeah, there's some birds in there are paintings. Most of them are photographs, but some are paintings. This southern martin, that's a painting.
Yeah.
See the warblers.
Yeah, you're often towards the back. Because if this is one of the books I'm thinking of, I think it has some drawings by not Lawrence McQueen.
There's some more paintings
I'm
going on.
forgetting. Amazing.
Some flycatchers
watercolor
paintings.
works. Well, that looks like a great source of information and inspiration.
Yeah, and I also got this other book.
This is
an
a really interesting series. Yes.
And
So
it's
yeah,
got
not just a field guide to a group of animals, but a field guide to an ecosystem.
yeah, it's got it's got mammals like little mice, chipmunks, wolves, lots of flowers, moths, butterflies.
Yeah, the danger is, you get
bugs.
hooked with birds, and then the next thing you know, you're identifying moths and butterflies. It's a slippery slope.
Trees and leaves,
And so
birds,
much. That's a terrific book.
reptiles, snakes, and amphibians, and toads. And I've been, I think it's so funny, the genus of a toad, Bufo.
Bufo, that's a good one. Bufo for toads. Sometimes the Latin names are really, really, really fun.
And today.
Oh, good work. Good observations. Nice line work and character. I like it.
And that's it.
Jack, this is exciting. The hammerhead worm. Oh. Now, should you find one again, see if yours, if you put it up on a table, if yours will do the Mission Impossible thing and kind of lower itself down. They're really, really interesting critters. Thank you so much for sharing that. Wow, hammerhead worm. Yeah, but in order to find those things, you got to be somebody who's like willing to roll over rocks and look around and look under the bush, and we'll see if another one shows up. Good work. Let's join Susan. Hi there. Oh, we can. You can now unmute.
Hooray! Hi, how's it going? Hey, so I did want to note, since all of us as nature journalists, we're always going out and painting and drawing in the field, aren't we all planarians?
Say again?
Aren't we all planarians?
In a cladistic sort of way.
Well, no, I meant because we're doing like plein air, drawing.
Oh, planarians. I see what you did there. I see what you did there, Susan.
So, don't want to I got a bunch of things here, but so figuring in the interest of time, pick one. Bugs or plants?
Talk to me about is the plant a skunk cabbage?
No, but they are still blooming, and I need to go.
Right. I'm going to go for bugs.
Okay, so.
Oh, let me reduce my
This is
screen
fun.
here.
So last October, I volunteered at the Albany Pine Bush to do the buck moth surveying. So the adult buck moths, they emerge from their incubation in late September, early October, and then they fly and they mate, and they're in the giant silk moth family, and they only live for a very short time because they can't eat. And so this particular subspecies is extremely rare and endangered and only lives in these certain areas. And so this preserve, this is one of the species that they monitor. And so they get citizen science to go out and basically observe them and count how many you see in a certain protocol and everything as a part of the observation. So the adults are all gone, but they lay their eggs on oak, and particularly this. Apparently the main species, or the other, I guess the other subspecies, is not in any trouble at all, and apparently can be a little bit kind of overwhelming in some other forests and some other sort of coastal pine barrens. But the inland pine barren buck moth is not doing so great, so we're gonna have to try to support them. But they lay eggs on these bushy sort of oaks, bare oak and chestnut oak that grow in the pine bush. So a friend of mine who works there tipped me off back in February. She says, I found a cluster of buck moth eggs, and she described to me where it was, and I went and looked for it in February, and I could not find it anywhere. So I was back over there recently, and I said, can you help me out? She says, oh, well, you go find the fallen log. It's along this part of the trail. There's a fallen log in front of the bush. And so find the fallen log, and then you'll find it. Well, it turns out that all of the bare oak bushes along that part of the trail have a fallen log in front of them. But this one, after I searched every single one of them, this one has a fallen log that looks like this. So if you go to the pine bush and you go on the right part of the trail and you find that log and that bush, you will find the buck moth eggs. So yeah, so it's a very lovely day. I just sat down right in front of the bush. I need to get one of those, an actual proper hand lens, but I realized I have a little macro lens attachment for my camera that's basically just a very good magnifying glass, basically. And so I was holding that up, but I don't want to keep doing that because that was expensive and I don't want to scratch it. But I was able to get a good close look at the eggs from using that. And so I was making some observations and thinking about circle packing.
The geometry of this cluster is fascinating.
Yeah. So what I don't know is it seems like surely the female would make spirals around the twig or something. That seems like that would be the most obvious thing, but there's not really an obvious sort of linear pattern, and it was more obvious these sort of lines going diagonally, and I don't know if that was just a coincidence of the way that they got attached. So, but it goes all the way around the twig.
What if as she's walking around the branch, she is arching her tail back and forth?
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah, I don't know. So I
watch one lay eggs.
Yeah, well, next October, hopefully. Yeah. Last October, I did see a female checking out a bush, maybe she was thinking about it. And then I lost track of her in the bush. I couldn't find her before I actually got to see her lay eggs. So I don't know. But, now that I know what to look for, hopefully this year, we'll see. But since I know where these are and they're easy to get to, when they should hatch in early to mid-May, I think. So I know where they are, probably shortly after the leaves come out. So hopefully I can keep observing them. These caterpillars, they start off gregarious in this, so they'll just be a whole bunch of spiny black caterpillars just tearing through all the oak leaves. And then eventually they'll start to disperse in like late summer. So I know where these are. I know which bush they're on. So over the course of the spring, hopefully I'll get to go watch the caterpillars. I would not dare collect them and try and raise them
Yeah, that's
inside.
wise.
I've done that with, well, my friend has done that with monarchs and I have helped her, but these guys, because they're protected in the bush, we're not doing that. So yeah, so hopefully, and also now that I've actually seen it, because I've seen pictures of them, but now I actually kind of sense of what it really looks like in the field. I'm
Yeah.
hoping that now I have kind of like the search image
The search
in my
image,
head.
yeah, exactly.
So I've been inspecting other bare oak and chestnut oak in other parts of the pine bush that I know that I've seen buck moths to see if I can find any more egg clusters, but nothing yet. But they're really hard to find.
That's cool. So I want to point out so first of all, I just did a quick search. There are some videos online that people have taken of buck moths laying eggs. So that would be an interesting thing to check out.
Yeah.
And it's good that there are other people who are like deep geek, right, out there who find these things and like they're like, oh, buck moth laying eggs. I will video this and put it on YouTube. And then other people like us who are doing actual searches for buck moth laying eggs. So mad props. Something that is really working about this visually, I want to point out two things. One, notice the sort of the change in the shapes of the tops of these as they go around the edges of the branch. And sort of by making those ones on the side more oval on the exposed surface, you get the sense that there are these cylinders that are wrapping around the branch. So that's part of what's making that successful. The other thing that I really want to point out, actually two other things. One is the value range around it. There are these light highlights, and then it goes to, in the shadows between them, it's really dark. So there is a high value range, and that's another thing that really makes these things pop. If those darks were not there, the whole thing would feel just kind of light and anemic, but you kind of pop it by putting in those shadows between and next to the things. And that is a huge part of the success of it. And the last part of it is take a look at, kind of think of the idea of consistently inconsistent. So some are darker, some are lighter, some are squishier, some are shorter, some are, so there's an overall pattern here, but then there's a kind of consistent variation in this. And that also really helps it look natural. Also love is that gel pen putting a few little dots on the branch itself.
Yeah. So this was kind of after the fact. I was like, didn't that branch have little dots on it? Which that's going to have to be another thing because I've been drawing a lot of branches lately, and they all got little white dots. So they have to explain that to me. Yeah. So this I was actually, because I had the luxury of being able to actually sit there and look at it, I was actually like peering at the actual cluster with a lens and trying to get the configuration exactly as I saw it. So there's lots of little underlying lines that I was drawing, and then I was like, trying to draw little circles and things. Cool. And some of the ones on the outer edge were actually tilted like away. They weren't sticking straight out from the branch; they were tilted that way or that way. So there was that. But I do want to say I've gotten a lot of mileage out of your mushroom gills lesson, which really stuck with me. That was months ago. You did an Ask Jack about mushrooms, and you had the whole thing about when you're drawing the gills of the mushroom, the gills that are right in the middle that you're looking straight down, you're seeing the darkness on either side of them, and the ones that are further to the side, you're seeing the side of the gill, and it looks light. And so I was thinking about that as I was doing that. I'm like, yep, there it is. When you can see straight down in between the eggs, it looks darker. When you can't see straight down in between them because you're seeing them on the side, you don't get that shadow.
Really nice, really nice. And Avea pointed this out. Also, mad props for the U of the word buck in the title being the antenna of the moth itself, and the moth covering up part of the moth.
That's how cool with that.
This is so much fun.
So I was pleased with that.
Oh, that is terrific. Well, in just a moment, I'm going to have to bounce because I have an important appointment coming up, and but I want to thank everybody here for joining us today, and I hope that this was really useful to you. Seen some real sort of wonderful inspirations. Before we go, let's just check in with Daniel, and then we'll bounce. So I'm going to bring in Daniel. Thank you so much for joining us. I got to see, hold on, I'm going to add you into the spotlight, and there we are. Oh, look at the bald eagle.
I like it and I don't like it.
Okay, what about it do you particularly like?
The long neck.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel it should have been brought in just a little more.
Okay, so that's the part you're not, but what part is really working for you? What part is successful for you?
Well, the black.
Yeah.
Normally we know that the bald eagle is brown, right?
Yeah.
But the lighting on this bird from the photograph, it was all black. All
That's
black.
nice.
Yeah.
And another thing I really like is that far wing, the primary feathers out on the tip, you're seeing those as shortened. Yeah. Susan's also pointing this out, that on the far wing, those foreshortened primary feathers are also done really effectively. What a lot of people do is they draw the wings symmetrically on either side. But you've got turn that one over. Yep, on the wing that is, if the wings are in a slight V, and hold on, I'm gonna grab a piece of paper here. So if the wings are in a slight V and you're looking at it from underside, the wing that is on the top side that you're seeing is you're going to see the full length of that. And that other one is going to be foreshortened, as you've got in this drawing as well. So good job foreshortening those. If the bird rocks the other way, you can get that to flip, but then you're looking more at the bird's back. So if you're looking at the belly and it's rocked, then you often get this wing so much shorter, and you have so many people just draw them symmetrically because we think, yeah, the wings got to be the same length on either side. But so very good work on that.
And I said I'm crazy about spiders.
Common spiders of North America. That looks like a gorgeous,
beautiful
Ooh, I have to write down the name of this book, Common Spiders of North America.
By Robert A. Bradley.
Robert A. Bradley.
Yep.
Oh, that's show us before you go. Could you show us some jumping spiders from it? Saltistids are my personal favorite spider, just the cutest spider. These big bug-eyed, short little, Phidippus. Yeah, there's some Phidippus. Is that Phidippus johnsoni? Let me reduce my screen here. A lot of people will whack these beautiful spiders because
not this boy.
Because they see, oh, it's black spider with red on it. Must be a black widow. No. All right. Oh, these are so cool. Now, the next time you find a jumping spider, here's my challenge for you. All right. Get a little mirror without an edge on it and put the mirror. Hold on, I'm going to add myself back into the spotlight. Get the mirror and put the mirror, like the spider's here, you're going to put the mirror down in front of the spider so it sees its own reflection.
Yeah, okay.
And watch what happens. So male jumping spider, should you find one, you got to get a little mirror. So when I'm sometimes sort of leading tours and things, sometimes, I mean, it's such a great effect that I will often carry a little mirror with me, because no spoilers here, but it's cool.
I'll bet it is.
Thank you so much for sharing those drawings of those birds. Again, those foreshortened wings, drawing that far one as a shorter thing. People don't want to do that, but that's what we're seeing, and it makes that drawing just look so much more effective. So well done on that.
Yeah. Thank you much.
Thank
Have a
you,
nice-
sir.
Have a nice day.
I certainly will. So this wraps our Ask Jack session for today. And I want to thank everybody for being here with us. Want to encourage you to write yourself your poem. Write yourself that poem. Again, the prompt for the poem was the line, "Happy is the person who feels nature within them." That's a quote from Phil Weil, W-E-I-L. And we're using that as an inspiration for poetry. And please do share those on the Nature Journal Club Facebook page if you are a member there, as well as other nature inspiration that you are doing. And for anybody out there, should you find a hammerhead worm, get your geek on. It's just super cool. And should you find a jumping spider, get yourself a mirror. And you're going to have fun. I will, the next time that we meet, if anybody's found a jumping spider and showed it a mirror, we'd love to get a report from you. And until then, be kind, be well. Let's go play in nature, celebrate this incredible opportunity that we have to be alive, either on foot or horseback. Kate, I'm talking to you. And then we will and share your inspiration. I remember that the 3 prompts from Mary Oliver in her short poem, Instructions for Living a Life. She says, pay attention, be astonished, tell about it. Until next time, everybody, thank you for being here. And thank you, Avea, for supporting the group with the chat and your help keeping our community safe. Bye-bye.